What's up, you? How you doing? Just finished up my coffee and I'm ready to tackle some class review. As you can see from the Tado here, I am going to be. Shit, we were both doing coffee stuff. Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the last of the Artificer customizations and maybe some final thoughts about the Artificer, especially since now I've had a couple of days to think about it as well. And then we're going to move on to the Ranger, which is another really Mondo one from what I've been told. But then if we do have time after that, we'll be taking a look at the Sorcerer. Those are the three classes that I would like to review today. Of course, the Artificer, the most of the Artificer has been reviewed already. So let's scroll through here. Obviously had the funny Brewmaster, that was really good. Enchanter was more about item customization. Inventor more focused on the Great Labors and whatnot. Flash of Genius, yeah, stuff like that. That's pretty cool stuff. It's interesting because some of the subclasses obviously have this. Some of the disciplines for the Artificer are much more about making adjustments to, like, they kind of exist within their own category or template of like item creator, right? And then there's some that have completely distinct focuses or feel a little bit different, like the Bombardier, for example, is a little bit different. And so that's obviously pretty good as a nice bit there. But then you get the Inventor, obviously is completely distinct. It doesn't have any of those item creation stuff in the same way, but obviously is much more about great labor stuff. It's pretty neat. Oh, we left it at the start of the Inventor. Okay, I guess I didn't even see. I must have read it like after because I remember some of this stuff, but we'll read it on the stream for the sake of continuity. Inventors are bold engineers of bespoke creations and ingenious prototypes. When you choose the specialty at first level, you get expertise with Tinker's tools. Okay. Bag of holding called the Inventor's Satchel. Artificer's Hammer gives force damage. Each Artificer specialty grants you profession spells, of course, so then you get into Shield, Knock, Haste, Fabricate, and Creation. I actually was curious. We have the ability to do this right at this moment. Non-living object of vegetable matter within range. Mineral objects such as stone, crystal, or metal. I like how they don't lead with that, though. Why would they lead with vegetable matter instead of also talking about the minerals? All right. Oh, I see. Vegetable matter is the longest lasting, so I guess that makes some sense. That was really funny to me. It's like, hey, there's this fucking useless thing that you can make. Not actually. All right. So that's pretty cool. First level, you gain immediate access to the Great Labor's class feature that you would normally acquire at third level. You may also choose any 3 first level items from among the Alchemist, Apothecary, Artillerist, Artist, Blacksmith, Brewmaster, Enchanter, or Sigilist class tables. Add those items to your list of available Artificer creations, and you can create a number of them up to your prof bonus, as other Artificers do. In addition, when you begin play as an Inventor, you may declare up to 2 ongoing prototypes already underway. Okay. Prototypes must be items your DM agrees with or appropriate to your level of materials. Each of these prototypes begins with a design phase already completed. Okay. That phase has been completed. The next time you work on your prototypes, that you skip the connect the dots task, provided you've already necessary tools. Yeah, right. So this could be kind of interesting because it's like you could be trying to complete some prototypes that you've got in the works that you need materials for, and it lets you jump to that if you're really into the Great Labor stuff and you really want to focus on that part of the class. You can jump straight to that at first level, but you give up a lot of the flexibility of the other classes, which means that your items need to be a considered part of your class. This is definitely, like, I think generally speaking, the pitch for the Artificer is probably something where, like, if we were trying to recommend this class to people who didn't quite understand the full system, or maybe just in general when they play D&D as characters, they really only want to have to worry about a couple of things. There's only a few classes that I think, a few subclasses that I think would be like appropriate disciplines for them to pick. Um, I think a lot of them are pretty involved. This is maybe the most involved because of the fact that you have to immediately interface with Great Labor, which is set up to third level for a reason. So this is like, it's not really right to call it a skill thing. Like, this is going to be a high skill class. It's more to say that the complexity, the depth that is there, is certainly heavier for this subclass than a lot of the other ones that I'm seeing. Maybe this is the most involved so far. So it doesn't mean anything bad about it. I'm just sort of notating in my head, like, okay, if I was going to try to convince, Joe Schmo at my shift job to play D&D with me, and he was going to roll an artificer, I would tell him maybe not this one, because he would need to do a lot of built-in stuff. It depends on your personality, what you actually like. So, yeah. Okay. You may use the Great Labor System to create any item from the artificial specialty table you've seen or studied. You must do so as a Great Labor. Okay, that makes sense. That's a pretty involved version of that, but I guess then you'd get like higher quantities if it was a craftable or something, a consumable. Eureka! At second level, your mind surges with impossible solutions under pressure. Flash of Genius is used. You may apply it to an attack roll, damage roll, healing roll, or temporary hit point roll made by you or a creature you can see within range. In addition, when you fail a design check or construction check as part of a Great Labor, you may immediately expend one use of Flash of Genius to reroll that check, and you must use the new result. Okay, interesting. So that's obviously very powerful stuff for the purpose of not just the Great Labor side of things, but also you got to think about the fact that the class here this is also sort of allowing the class to be more utilitarian for the team, more supportive for the party. So that's also pretty interesting. Also, before I even read the fourth level one, we're on page 22. Let me scroll up here. Okay, or not. Thanks. So you get tool expertise and conjure workshop. But the Great Labor stuff doesn't show up until... Okay, yeah. So, I was only wondering about whether or not you had much on the third level. I couldn't quite remember when you get the workshop. That makes sense that it would be at third level, so... That will still be pretty helpful for the inventor, since then the Great Labor stuff will be a bit easier. That's kind of interesting. At fourth level, your inventions become easier to refine and less punishing to test. When you undertake a Great Labor to create a prototype, an item you have learned how to make, or one of the items from the Artificer Specialty table, reduce the gold cost by 10 for each level of the item. For example, reduce the cost of a first level item by 10 or a fifth level by 50. In addition, whenever you make a design check or construction check for Great Labor, you may treat a d20 roll of a 9 or lower as 10. That's pretty good. So that's sort of like expertise in, or proficiency in Great Labor, which is pretty neat. And then patented design. At fifth level, your toils and troubles as an inventor have made the conceptualization of new designs second nature. You only need to succeed on one intelligence check to pass the design process of creating a prototype. Lastly, you learn any 3 recipes of your choice of fourth level or lower from among the alchemist, apothecary. Yeah, right. The ones that craft items, basically. We haven't gotten to sigilist yet because it's alphabetical, so. Okay, yeah, so inventor is definitely focused around that. I must have read a decent amount of that while like prepping for like eating food or something after my stream. I can't remember what happened at the end there. There's some information that was new to me, but I definitely remember reading the Great Labor stuff and being like, okay, this class is about like specializing in that. So pretty neat for the flavor. And as 3Chrome himself writes in the chat, it's definitely for players who are familiar with the content, want to jump right into that thing they really wanted to do. The Artificer is definitely more of overall, it's definitely more of a class that seems like when you want to, you got classes that interface with gear by way of, like, the Weapon Master, for example, wants to accrue a lot of it. And then there's always, like, gear is kind of, maybe not an afterthought, but a secondary system compared to everything that the classes have innately. And the Artificer is the one who's about gear and consumables and stuff like that, first and foremost, and that does give them a very unique shape in the setting, I think, and in the class economy. I'm trying to think of like the right word about that, but um, in the pantheon of classes, the artificer stands out because of the fact that it's so focused on items. I do wonder if maybe the extra damage that you get from hitting people with the artificer hammer and the fact that you can do 2 attacks with the artificer hammer, that would lead to a lot of melee damage, more than the average melee kitted class at first level. So that also has to be considered, I think, because you got like 1d4 base and then 1d4 add-on, and then you can do that twice, I'm pretty sure. Maybe that was only a second level trait, but yeah, first level proficiency with the artificer's hammer, 1d4 bludgeoning. So yeah, you get access to this, and then is there a... Yeah, so you get to do 2 attacks. You get to do 2d8 damage every turn. If you're just in melee mode. And that's way more than the like fighter with a long sword gets to do, or something like that. Well, maybe I can't say that definitively at first level. I can't quite remember the new fighter fully in the same way that maybe I ought to be able to. But as an example, like you got a great axe, okay, that's like a d12 damage, right? Something like that. Well, even your best great axe roll could be outshone by a single turn of an artificer. So I'm pointing that out because that is a lot. For a class that doesn't feel like it should be excelling in melee combat, and it should instead rely on items that it creates, I think that's too much damage. That's just my stance on it from reading through it all and considering it. I don't know what the sound is upstairs. Can't help you there. If it's coming through on the mic, I apologize. Yeah, if you took off the bonus action attack and then made it so that you can leave a note that says your specialty will increase your base damage or whatever. 1d4 bludgeoning, and then you'll be dealing magical damage based on your specialty. That way, players who are just skimming the class don't think, well, that's useless. It's only 1d4. It'll be a 2d4, and there will be a magical component to half of that damage, which is pretty helpful for certain situations. And definitely, it's more of a scaling factor. You don't typically fight stuff where that's going to make a huge difference at first level. But it's a scaling factor for the class to know that they will be dealing some amount of magical damage in their melee attack. So I would even be okay with them like getting, instead of I think the extra attack is probably the source of the confusion and the dissonance on the thematic. But I would be fine with them getting higher damage dice for the artificer hammer over a certain level. Like maybe at 3rd level it becomes d6, and at 5th level it becomes d8 or something like that. Considering that would be a double, right? So you go from 2d4 to 2d6 and then 2d6 to 2d8. As a random idea. It doesn't have to be done that way, but that's just a thought that I had. Alright. Mortificer. Artificers of life and death, using necromancy to transform corpses into obedient servants. Okay, this is already an interesting... I'm going to see how this is spun, because my gut reaction to an artificer being a necromancer is, that's a little dissonant thematically. Wouldn't it be better to craft items out of corpses or something? Anyway, let's see what happens. When you choose a specialty first level, you get medicine proficiency, leatherworkers, tools proficiency, poisoner's kit proficiency. 1d4 necrotic, of course, makes sense. And then your profession spells are Ray of Sickness, Gentle Repose, Animate Dead, Blight, and Danse Macabre. First level, you learn the basic rite by which dead are made to serve. As an action, you may strike a corpse within 5 feet of you with your Artificer's Hammer and expend a number of first level Artificer spell slots equal to the CR of the undead you wish to create to a minimum cost of 1 spell slot. The corpse transforms into one undead creature from the Mortificer Undead table whose challenge rating you are capable of creating. The undead rises under your control for a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. It is friendly to you and your allies, and it acts on your initiative immediately after your turn. On its turn, it can take one action from its stat block, or it can take the dodge action. When the duration ends, the undead collapses and the corpse becomes ruined, preventing it from being raised again by this feature. You can have a number of undead raised this way at one time, up to your proficiency bonus. If you would exceed this limit, choose one undead you control created by this feature. Its duration immediately ends. Your DM determines whether the corpse you are using is suitable for the undead you wish to create. Okay. Soulbound Servitude. At second level, the dead answer your will. Whenever you raise an undead using Reanimate Dead feature, you gain 5 temp HP. In addition, an undead you create with Reanimate Dead uses your prof bonus for its attack rolls and ability checks, if your prof bonus would be higher than the bonus normally listed in its snap block. And then at 4th level, Endless Procession. Your necromantic craft becomes more efficient and more enduring. Undead you raise with Reanimate Dead remain animated for a number of hours equal to twice your prof bonus instead of just your prof bonus. In addition, you are no longer limited in how many undead you can have raised at any one time, provided you have enough spell slots to create them. And then Harvest the Dead at 5th level. You can draw power back out of the necromantic bindings you create. As a bonus action, choose one undead currently raised by your Reanimate Dead feature, and immediately end its duration. When you do, choose one of the following. Absorb. You regain hit points equal to 5 times that undead CR to a minimum of 5. The undead erupts, destroy. The undead erupts in a necrotic collapse. Each creature within 10 feet of it must succeed on a dex saving throw or take necrotic damage equal to 10 times the CR to a minimum of 10 necrotic. On a success, the creature takes half as much damage. An undead ended this way is destroyed and its corpse is ruined. And then there's the undead table for the Mortificer, which is... You may allow additional corpse-based undead of an equivalent CR if a suitable corpse is available. So you got... At your first level, you can make Crawling Claw, Skeleton, Zombie. At second level, you can make Warhorse, Skeleton. At third, you can make Ghoul. At fourth, you can make Gas and Ogre, Zombie. And at fifth, you can make Mummy and White. Okay, interesting. So overall, thematically, I actually... So I was a little bit... The whole time I was reading this, I was kind of like, I don't really know about this one. And then the thing that made me think maybe, okay, maybe there's an angle here is the Crawling Claw. If I look this up... Info. Severed Hands of Murderers, animated by Dark Magic. Yeah, okay. Pretty neat. Damn, these guys actually have a lot of, they apparently have a lot of stats, or whatever. Obviously, they only have 2 HP, so it's whatever. But... Interesting. Turn immunity. Neat. All right. So the thing that I'm thinking is... Being able to create typical undead, I think, feels a little weird to me. But being able to create, to basically use the dead and corpses, necrotic energy, etc., to create on the spot undead items, in air quotes, like the Crawling Claw, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty legit. Being able to basically craft that out of a corpse, right? Like, those are your resources. It still feels in thematics. It still feels in concert with the rest of the Artificer class and the way that it's supposed to be focused on this item stuff. And maybe there should be, like... There's a certain category of items that you craft that are like the Crawling Claw, where you could throw them down as an enemy unit for your enemy, like as an allied creature. But there's a lot that are like, I don't know, like a volatile serum, and you just throw it and it turns into a fucking Baneling explosion or something, like shit like that. I don't know. That probably overlaps with some other subclass, but I like the. I think making stuff from corpses, like, it almost feels like Great Labor should be where the undead, like a Frankenstein's monster type deal, or a a more heavily like an undead in the sense of like an ogre zombie or a warhorse skeleton. Like I know whatever the challenge rating stuff is kind of a weird system anyway, and I don't really ever define it in myself with my own custom stat blocks. When I make those, I don't even care about. I don't even pay any attention to the CR system. I just we don't have a like we would need to really do a lot of testing to figure out like is there even such a thing as a CR system that could account for the player agency that we have. I don't know if that's true. And so the CR system is what it is. It's what it's there for. It's like in this particular case, it's a flawed but available update and like thing to like a scaling factor. So I don't know. That one's weird. I think if you made it so that the available undead to use in a great labor type system, starting at like 3rd level, included those things, but up until that point, you could create like not even in the great labor system sense, but you could take the hands or the talons or like you could like oh you defeated one of those axe beaks, so you can like rip off the axe beak part of the axe beak, the actual weapon part of its face, and you could tether it to the leg of a fallen horse or so. I don't know, like do some really macabre shit like that. Then all of a sudden you can create your own custom stat block that is very, very upsetting, unnerving, horrific creation. That feels more like Artificer than I summoned a zombie. You know what I mean? Like that's just my take. But imbue 2 shrunken heads with a message and use them as walkie-talkie. That's pretty good. Yeah, creating custom undead stat blocks for even your average like run of them. Like we would probably want to do things like Crawling Claw as prefab so that you could just pick that. Or maybe that's what the stat block would be, but it's like reskinned. No pun intended. That would be fine. I think that would be acceptable. But yeah, just thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it like, what would be the way to make it so that it realigns with the Artificer a bit more thematically? That's my take there. And we have the Sigilist here as the last one to look at. Then I'm going to refill my water, and we're going to take a look at the Ranger. Sigilists trap magic in lines, circles, seals, and written formula, laying dormant power that waits for the perfect moment to awaken. When you choose a specialty, you get Calligrapher's Supplies and Painter Supplies proficiencies. 1d4 Force. Okay. Alarm, Arcane Lock, Glyph of Warding, Mordenkainen's Private Sanctum, and Symbol. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like Alarm in particular. The first level, it seems right. Okay, what do we got here? At first level, Forge Sigil. You gain the ability to create magical sigils and wardings of your own design. So this looks to be what your... Yeah, this is your item creation, by the looks of it. And then a willing creature can accept a sigil automatically. Unwilling must create on a dex saving throw, or the sigil is placed upon it. On the success, the sigil fails, and the expended spell slots are lost. Okay, so that's a risk and reward. It's just like the Charm Person stuff in that way. Recurs no stranger to that. When you place a sigil, you may set a condition that causes it to activate, such as a creature approaching, touching, attacking. Okay, this is really cool. Sigil activates the first time a condition is met, no more than a sentence. In addition, as an action, you may manually activate any sigil you've created that is within 1,000 feet of you. Very cool. Okay, so if it was supposed to activate when they walked into it, but they walk around it, but you can see them, you can still pop it, and then it'll do whatever it's supposed to do. That's pretty neat. Sigil you create lasts for a number of hours equal to your prof bonus until it is activated, or until you dismiss it as a bonus action. A number of sigils placed equal to your prof bonus. Early sigil place fades if you increase that limit, or you exceed that limit. A creature examining one of your sigils can identify its magical nature with an int investigation or arcana check against your artificer save DC, but not its function. A detect magic spell reveals the school of magic imbued in your sigil. Identify spell reveals the complete nature of your sigil, including any effects. Okay, that's pretty neat. I like that there's rules for that kind of thing, because if we were to have a situation where a high level artificer sigilist was leaving like I haven't read here, but let's see, 24 hours. Okay, I read ahead and I was like, okay, interesting. But I was if there was some crazy like nth level spell, and we might imagine that like a more ascended sigilist would be like capable of placing permanent or like lasting in the realm of like centuries or something sigils on the ground. If that was the case, then it's like, oh shit, like let's read this stuff and see what's up. Also, this totally wasn't the case because I hadn't read this at this time, but in Omnima, at the intro, there were a bunch of weathered runes that had sapped magic over time. That totally could have been a sigilist, right? Like I didn't say what it was because you guys couldn't have found out what it was in that moment. But I knew it was something like that. That could have been sigillist shit, right? So that's kind of interesting to think about it from that perspective. It was like, it almost looks like I'm planning the campaign stuff around having already read this stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make a character like that, like the fucking trader that is doing all of this work in that you guys met in Omnima most recently. That guy seems like an artificer. And I didn't even know about the class until after, you know what I mean? So that's that guy seems like he's clearly something more in that vein, you know? He's even he even has a bunch of tools that he's like using to interact with this guy. Like I swear I didn't read the artificer class beforehand. I had no idea what was there. But it looks like I did from the perspective of making these classes or these characters, these NPCs, or this part of the world. So it's almost like I've already canonized some of this shit, and that's kind of funny to me. All right. But yeah, it's cool to have these rules because you do want to have the capacity to take a look at them and then interact with them as a player or as an NPC, you know, like an orc or whatever, like, what's this symbol? Or whatever, so. At second level, your script becomes fast and sure. You may place or activate a sigil created by your force sigil feature as a bonus action. Cool. In addition, you create a number of first level sigils without expending spell slots equal to your prof bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you complete a short or long rest. Okay. So that's pretty good. That means that you get a little bit more fluidity and flexibility with when you do it, but also how many you want to make. You basically just get 2 for free, and then it becomes 3 at third level. Enduring script. At fourth level, your sigils hold their charge for far longer than ordinary wards, and a duration of 24 hours instead of your prof bonus in hours. Master Sigilist. At fifth level, your written magic can be made to persist indefinitely. Oh, okay, so I was right that there was something like that. However, of course, there could be reasons why it would be dampened, right? You know, it could just be the residuals after it was already expended or something. When you place a sigil on an unattended object, structure, or terrain, you may spend 8 hours working on that sigil in your workshop or at the location where it is placed. Expend double the normal number of first level artificer spell slots required to create it, and spend 100 gold point per level with the sigil in inks, dust, reagents, and sacrificial materials. If you do, the sigil becomes permanent until dispelled or physically destroyed. Its effect can be activated once per day. You may place the number of permanent sigils up to your artificer level. Once you exceed this limit, the earliest sigil you placed fades. These sigils don't count towards the number of temporary sigils you can evac. Pretty epic. And then we got the sigil table. Alarm sigil. Vacation sigil. Oh shit, they take some damage. One action in the sigil. Oh, okay, you can just like imbue it with a spell. That's pretty cool. Binding sigil. Chains at second level. That's pretty cool. Silencing sigil. Deafened can't provide verbal spell components. Can immune to thunder damage until the exit of the sphere. That's pretty neat. Second level spell. Explosive sigil. No, it's a fireball. But it's of anything. Oh, it's an any ball. Sanctum sigil. That's pretty cool. Aegis sigil, banishment sigil. One creature you choose within 10 feet of the sigil must succeed on a charisma saving throw or vanish for 1 minute. That's really good. Regains 5d10 HP. Dominion sigil. Must have been fun to write the conditions, the examples for this. Very neat. Yeah, the Dominion sigil is real good. Okay. Yeah. Overall, I think the Artificer provides a really different kind of gameplay. This is something I believe very strongly, right? Obviously, you guys can tell this if you're anywhere familiar with my RTS work. I made the Escozi race, and I'm still shaping them and designing them, of course, over time, and we're going to have some changes to them after this active tournament that's ongoing for Cosmonarchy. But I added a fourth race to a game that already had 3 races with so many tech options and stuff, and yet they still serve a distinct role and provide a distinct play style that is unfamiliar, is exciting and new and fun to try to find out information about, and ultimately is going to result in there being more depth to the game. Well, the Artificer kind of reminds me of that mechanic or that constant being a thing. No matter how many options you have, it may be that none of them speak to you so deeply as one that does not yet exist. And you can get lost in that, but we're not getting lost in that. We're just making sure all the classes from the original game are cool and epic. And the original tabletop, of course, are cool and epic. And I think that that's really cool. I think the Artificer is distinct from all the other classes. And there's always a concern, just like there is in an RTS context where you're adding a new race to the game. Are these distinctions going to shatter the existing agreed upon rules of the game? And if that's the case, then we would need to retool things and adjust things. I don't think that's the case for the Artificer, by the way. I'm just saying that's something that you got to worry about. You got to think about when you're designing stuff that's at the extremities that doesn't fit into an existing thing. So that's why I drew a parallel to the Escozi. And so, yeah, the Artificer is very different. It has a lot of very different stuff. It's very like DM player relationship, like kind of legislated by the class. You need a little bit of collaboration there in a way that some of the other classes are a little bit more fire and forget, self-sufficient, that kind of stuff. And I think that's totally fine because you can't be afraid to have a more involved class. The only thing you would worry about is if it was taking up too much time in terms of actual roleplay time, that it was a disproportionate time sink for the DM to spend a lot of time with that player, give them a lot of the spotlight, that kind of stuff. But I think that's always going to happen to some varying degree because of personality anyway. And so you can't be afraid of that. You just got to be like, all right, DM, skill check for you, buddy. And so, yeah, if somebody decided they wanted to be an Artificer, or there was multiple Artificers pitched for a party, that might be a lot of time spent, especially the first time you're playing, you're running a game for it, right? I'm thinking from a DM's perspective as well as a player's perspective. That might be a lot of effort that you got to put into as the DM, but that's okay. You can figure that out. It's good for this to be an option. It's totally up to the players and the parties to decide if they want to involve themselves with it and to what degree. Like I even said, there's some subclasses here that are way more involved and way distinct, and especially the Inventor obviously comes to mind. So yeah, that's what I think. I'm glad it exists. Obviously, I had some thematic concerns with a few of the class choices, and in particular the Mortificer. Mortificer is one that I'm thinking like probably needs some retooling in the department of like what all do you have available to you as far as items and class the crafting aspect of it. It feels like it needs some work on the thematics there, but overall, obviously a lot of work went into this one. Very cool. Glad to see it in. Glad to grok it fully to actually understand it by reading it through. So. Supermarket together campaign. Yeah. Holy shit. You right. You absolutely right. Let's pop open the Discord here. All right, let's take a look here. We go to the Homebrew Avenue, check the pinned. All right. So Ranger is up next. Let's go to the Ranger. And oh, I closed the Paladin, but that's okay. I'll do the Paladin later. I'll open the Ranger and the Sorcerer, and we'll start with the Ranger. Again, I don't know how much time I'll actually have. It's already noon, so I'll go for... Did I really take an hour to do that, by the way? No, okay, only like a half an hour. I was going to say, if I took that long to take care of business for the last of that. Anyway, the Ranger is here. This is I'm just judging by the page count. We might end up being only able to finish this guy off. But all the other classes, I'm pretty sure, like this is 21 pages, but the Sorcerer is 12, by the way. So that's an example of something that's pretty trivial there, I think. We're getting through it. I wasn't expecting to do it this way exactly, and I don't have any problem with the fact that we did it this way. But we definitely are going through the big meaty ones first, you know? Wizard was not, it wasn't so meaty, but the Artificer and now the Ranger, they're going to be on the meatier side. So we'll see. I think the Artificer is probably the biggest, not just in terms of page count, but in terms of like amount of time to try to understand it, because it was like a new concept in a lot of ways. And the Ranger should be a little bit more comparable to stuff that's already familiar. I am going to grab some water and another drink, and I will return and take care of this. So BOB. All right, I have returned. It's Ranger time, boys. Rangers are wardens of the wilds, legendary trophy hunters, and masters of survival at the edges of civilization. Their strength lies not merely in archery or woodcraft, but in practiced adaptability, a deep knowledge of terrain and quarry, and a living bond with the creatures that fight beside them. A ranger does not walk the frontier alone for long. There's a lot of... It's not just this, but that, and that. And so I'm just noticing that as a pattern of some of the descriptions here. Okay, we got trail lore. That's pretty cool. I'm always curious if there's like, when I load into a new class, right? Like sorcerer should just be, oh, it's mystic. I thought the wizard was arcane lore, so maybe they're all distinct. I thought there were some that were like, use the same word or whatever, so. That's interesting. Class features. As a ranger, you gain the following class features. 1d8. Oh, 1d8 for ranger. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking 1d6. We'll see about that. Ranger is not like druid where they get an extra form for extra HP, though. So 1d8 might actually be necessary. You got light armor, medium armor, and shields. Okay. Simple weapons, martial weapons. For some reason, I also always associated rangers with light armor. Like as an exclusivity thing, but that probably isn't true. You probably always were able to do medium armor. Animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Martial weapon and a shield, or 2 martial weapons. Martial ranged weapon, or 2 simple weapons. Scale mail or leather armor, an explorer's pack, and an herbalism kit. It's good that you get a martial ranged weapon and a martial... Well, I guess you got a martial... You could technically have 2 martial ranged weapons because the first one's just a martial weapon. But you get to have a ranged weapon for sure, and that is, I think this is the only class that's like a bespoke thing that says, yeah, you can absolutely do that. So that's pretty good. Beast Tamer. Animal handling, advantage on checks made to calm, direct, or read the behavior of mundane beasts. Gastronomer. Cooks utensils. When you prepare meals during a rest, you can prepare ingredients that most would consider inedible. Good. Green Healer. I think we saw some of these from the Druid, or maybe it was from another class as well. You have advantage on checks made to identify medicinal herbs, natural remedies, venoms, and poisons. Handcrafter, leatherworkers, and woodcarvers tools. Stealth for the hunter. Advantage made on checks made to hide in natural terrain. Keen sight. Passive perception increases by 5, and proficiency in perception. Pathfinder. Proficiency with athletics. And on change checks made to climb natural surfaces and navigate rough waters. Cool. Sage is history. Checks to recall folk legends, creatures of myth, and stories passed down orally by ranger conclaves and druid circles. Trophy taker. Survival proficiency. Checks made to track aberrations, beasts, elementals, fae, and monstrosities. Well-traveled. Common languages. Or Elvish or Sylvan. Wild Bestiary. You gain proficiency with nature. You have advantage on checks made to identify aberrations, beasts, elementals, fae, and monstrosities. Okay, cool. Seeing the word bestiary, and I saw it earlier as well when I was looking at... I was looking at that page, but yeah, if I did... The bestiary is obviously spelled without the E, because it's like bestial or whatever. But, or it's spelled without the A, excuse me. And it's funny because the bestiary is an Escosi structure, and people keep people in chat kept yelling at me during one of the Escosi games. And it was the Han Mono Godweek game, and they were like, "Pronogo, it's bestiary." Like confidently yelling at me something incorrect. That's always going to be funny to me. All right, so yeah, we get some nice flavor options there for the Ranger. These do feel pretty good for like role playing, the casting in the mold of like, I'm gonna be focusing on being one with nature and like bringing the advantages of that to specific locations, even if I'm not in a natural environment. Although obviously some of them are more natural environment than not, but typically all of our campaigns have involved some natural stuff. I guess like ADS was, for a while, it was predominantly in like a mansion, or then in a tavern, and then like there's some more artificial stuff, but eventually we got into more like organic stuff, right? So. All right. Before I jump into this, I just want to say the Ranger always felt like it was not very focused on things. It had like spell casting, and Animal Companion was like part of a subclass instead of being just a default thing, and it was just kind of junk because it was so many different things it was. It was also supposed to be like a fighting style where you use a lot of archery or like scimitar, dual wielding shit or whatever. It just didn't have a focus. So I'm interested in what the Recruit did here for that particular reason. And so let's find out. Creature taming. At first level, you form a lifelong bond with a creature companion. One companion stat block from the Ranger Companion Glossary at the end of this packet. Common choices are medium beasts such as bears, boars, bobcats, hounds, horses, and wolves. But you may also choose a more exotic companion, such as a small construct, lesser elemental, pseudo-dragon, drake, plant creature, or swarm. Dude, Swarm Ranger! No matter your creature choice, it must not be a creature with a CR rating higher than your Ranger level, and unless a feature states otherwise, it must be a size of medium or smaller. Okay, pretty good. Right, that's how I feel too, is an amalgamation of unfocused ideas. It's just like, we can't really fit this into another class, give it to the Ranger! As a subclass or something, yeah. Companion advancement. Your companion levels with you. When you gain a level in this class, companion's hit points increase by 1d8 or 8 plus con mod, and it gains any of the listed abilities or features in its stat block, as noted in the Ranger Companion Glossary. Second level, fourth level, and sixth level, it also gains an ability score improvement. You may increase one ability score of its stat block by 2 or 2 by 1. Your companion uses proficiency bonus for its attack rolls, saving throws, in which it's proficient, and skill checks in which it is proficient. Companion combat. Your companion joins you in battle. When you take your turn in an initiative, you may choose at the beginning of your turn whether your companion acts immediately before or after your turn. And this is really good because it lets you be flexible each time. You basically share the turn, but you do have to like complete one action completely, I guess, which is fine. On your companion's turn, it can spend its movement and perform one action from its stat block. Otherwise, you may have it take the dodge, help, or hide actions. Companion's AC equals 10 plus Dex mod plus Wisdom modifier, plus its Dex mod plus your Wisdom modifier, representing a combination of its natural defenses and the training you have given it. Companion reduces 0 hit points, it falls unconscious, and must succeed on death saving throws at risk dying, just as a player character would. When you take the help action targeting your companion while it is unconscious, you stabilize it. If you are reduced to 0 hit points or fall unconscious and your companion can see or hear you, it stops whatever it is doing and acts only in the interest of preventing further harm from befalling you. Companion care. Your companion is a living creature and must be, or a being with equivalent needs according to its nature. It must eat, drink, breathe, sleep, or otherwise be maintained as its physiology requires. You can spend hit dice during a short rest to recover hit points. Bond with your companion is built on trust, familiarity, and care. If you consistently neglect your companion's needs, endanger it recklessly, or mistreat it, the DM may roll that it becomes uncooperative, flees from you, or turns against you as appropriate to its nature and temperament. Pretty cool. Replacing a companion. If your companion dies or is lost, you may tame a new one by finding a creature whose CR is no higher than your ranger level and attempting to bond with it. You must succeed on 3 wisdom ability checks against a DC equal to 10 plus the creature's CR. If you fail 3 times before succeeding 3 times, the creature flees or rejects you. You cannot attempt to tame it again until you complete a long rest. If you succeed on taming a new creature, it loses the stat block it had while it was an NPC and gains the most relevant companion stat block to its creature type from the Ranger Companion Glossary, except that it may retain its size category and any unique abilities, skills, or saving throw proficiencies it had when you tamed it. The new creature begins at first level. If your Ranger level is second level or higher, the creature gains 1 companion level each time it finishes a long rest until it reaches your Ranger level, illustrating your growing bond and training you give it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Might be very fast depending on how high level you are, but I mean, if you're like 5th level and you just have to replace your longtime companion with a noob, and you take 5 days, like that's probably multiple sessions in actuality, and so it's probably fine. Or 4 days, I guess it would be. Either way, that's a fine situation, I think. Unless a feature specifies otherwise, you may only have 1 companion at a time. If you attempt to tame a new creature while you're at your maximum number of companions, the new creature automatically rejects. Owned. Companion features. Lastly, your bond with your companion grants you innate abilities while you were with it. Mutual trust. If you and your companion within 5 feet of one another, and either of you would take damage, the other may use its reaction to interpose itself between the target and the source of the damage. Triggering damage is halved, and the interposing creature takes the prevented half of that damage instead. Interposing. Okay, so yeah. Basically, if you protect your creature, then you take half of the damage. If both of you and your companion spend your reaction as part of this feature, you may swap places. Okay. That's pretty neat. Shared instinct. When you make a wisdom survival check with the assistance of your companion, you may treat the roll of 11 or lower as a 12. That's pretty neat. Fighting style. You adopt a particular style of fighting as your specialty. One fighting style at 1st level, 2nd level, 3rd level. Okay, so this is similar to the fighter setup. And I think the paladin also had this as well. Blind fighting. Blind sight with a range of 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you're blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see invisible creatures within that range, unless the creature successfully hides from you. At 4th level, the range of this ability increases 15 feet. Pretty cool. Score is shooting. Being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your range attack rolls. At 4th level, when you hit a creature within 5 feet of you with a range attack, you deal additional damage equal to your prof bonus. That's pretty neat. Companion fighting. When you take the attack action on your turn, you may use your bonus action to command 1 tamed companion you can see or hear, that can see or hear you, to take the attack action targeting a creature within its reach. At 4th level, you may have that companion use an ability from its stat block instead of making an attack. That's pretty nifty. Basically, increase my companion DPS. Druidic Warrior. You can learn 2 cantrips of your choice from the Druid spell list. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for them. At 4th level, choose 1 1st level Druid spell. Cast that spell once per short and long rest without expending spell slots. I guess the fighting style could do a lot for you, and so I guess you'd have to really be choosy about what spells you end up picking. But I do like that you have to sacrifice a lot in order to be a spellcaster, at least so far in the class, because I never really liked that Ranger just got spells sometimes, or maybe, I think in 5th edition they just got spells, period, so that just always felt weird to me. Being able to kind of pseudo-subclass with this kind of move, I think is fine, though. Dueling. When you are wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you may make 1 additional attack with that weapon as a bonus action before the end of your turn. 4th level, the first time you hit with that weapon on each of your turns, you may treat its weapon damage die as though you rolled its max value. Oh, that's pretty cool. Crossbow expert. Wielding a crossbow and no other weapons, you may make 1 additional attack using a crossbow as a bonus action. Oh, okay. And at 4th level, you can ignore its loading property. I don't remember what loading does, so maybe 3 crew can write that out. Parrying. When a creature within 5 feet of your companion makes an attack roll against you, your companion may use its reaction to impose disadvantage on that attack roll. And if the attack misses at 4th level, the attacking creature's movement speed is reduced by 10 feet. Oh, that's cool. Interception. When a creature you can see hits a target other than you within 5 feet of you with an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage the target takes, a 1d10 plus prof bonus. You must be wielding a shield or simple martial weapon to use this reaction. Yeah, it's like a parry on behalf of somebody else. At 4th level, you add your strength or dex mod to the total damage reduced, whichever is higher. Pack tactics. When you and your companion are both within 5 feet of a creature, you have advantage on your first attack roll against it on your turn. At 4th level, your companion also benefits from this advantage. Okay. Polearm fighting. While wielding a reach weapon, creatures provoke opportunity attacks from you when they enter your reach, and opportunity attacks with reach weapons are made with advantage. Cool. Rangers do have a spellist and are sort of like druidic casters, but their spellist mostly sucks and doesn't scale well. I left it in so they wouldn't lose utility, but we can always drop it. I might consider dropping it. Let's see how I'll see how it all ends up going holistically, but I feel like it doesn't, from the fighting style plus creature focused stuff, I feel like you don't really need it. That's sort of my thought anyway. Loading is for crossbows, waste action, economy to reload. Okay. Well, if you can shoot twice with it anyway, I wonder how frequently you even have to reload. I don't know. That's I guess the idea is that you're using the trait there for the crossbow expert is that you can reload immediately, very quickly, like one time really good or something. Protection. When a creature you see attacks a target other than you, that is within 5 feet of you, you can use reaction to oppose advantage. This targets AC by 1 until the beginning of your next turn. Wielding a shield uses this feature. The target moves more than 5 feet away from you before the beginning of your next turn, they no longer benefit. Okay. Increase by AC by 2. Instead. Ranged fighting. When you take the attack action while wielding a ranged weapon, you may make one additional attack with that weapon as a bonus action before the end of your turn. At 4th level, your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover. Okay, that's pretty good. Relentless cooperation. If a creature were to provoke an opportunity attack from either you or your companion while it is within reach of or range of both of you, either of you may forego the opportunity attack so the other can make it instead. That's kind of a cute thing to do there. At 4th level, both you and your companion can expend both of your reactions to make simultaneous opportunity attacks on the same creature. That's pretty fun. Shield fighting. Wielding a shield. You may use it as a martial melee weapon that deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage. When you take the attack action, make a melee attack against a creature, you may use your bonus action to make an additional attack using your shield. At 4th level, the damage die goes to 1d6. In addition, on a successful shield check, you may push a creature 5 feet. Okay. One thing that's nice about this is that you can only pick these at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but you get an upgrade at 4th. So that really helps even one that you just decided to pick be more valuable in the next level up too. So. Thrown weapon fighting. Raw weapon is the third property as part of the attack action you make with a weapon. Make a ranged weapon attack on your turn using a thrown weapon. You may make one additional ranged weapon attack as a bonus action using a thrown weapon before the end of your turn. 4th level, you no longer have disadvantage on thrown weapon attacks when using the weapon's max range. Cool. 2-weapon fighting. You engage with in 2-weapon fighting. Attacks you make with your offhand weapon can critically strike on a roll of 19 or 20. At 4th level, it becomes 18, 19, or 20. Super critical, brutal crits. Unarmed fighting. Your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage. You go to 1d4 plus your strength or dex mod on a hit. If you aren't wielding any weapons or a shield, when you make the attack, you can make additional unarmed attacks as a bonus action. At 4th level, your unarmed damage die increases to 1d6. Okay, cool. Natural Explorer. At 1st level, your experience traveling the wilds makes you proficient in hunting, foraging, navigating, and surviving anywhere in the world. No matter the terrain you are faced with, your natural talents and worldly knowledge allow you to adapt to any land you tread. Common terrain types you may encounter are Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, and underdark. Whenever you complete a long rest on one of these terrain types, your familiarity with that terrain increases by 1 stage to a maximum of 3. If you complete a long rest in a different terrain, you begin building familiarity with that terrain instead. Yep, okay. So basically, you scale up the more time you spend in a particular area. So, general exploration. You remain alert to danger even when engaged in other activities, such as foraging or navigating. If you are traveling alone, or only with your tamed companions, you can move stealthily at normal pace. And then stage 1, after you complete one long rest in terrain, you gain the following benefits. Your group cannot become lost except by magical means. While tracking creatures, you also learn their exact number, their sizes, and how long ago they passed through the area. These are going to be pretty powerful things, I can already tell. Stage 2, settled terrain. After you complete 2 long rests in area, you can... let's see. Difficult terrain does not slow your group's travel. And when you forage, you find twice as much food as normal. Okay. Familiar terrain at stage 3. When you make an in or wisdom check related to that terrain, roll of 9 or lower on the d20 is 10. Disadvantage on you have advantage on checks made to determine if the terrain is an illusion or if it has been magically altered in any way. Okay. So, I guess some of your best benefits are probably stage 1, but the other stuff does end up helping in niche situations where you're supposed to get lost in some way, or you basically, it lets you be a little bit more direct with how you're traveling and whatnot. So it's a buff to traveling. And here's the spellcasting that Thurko was talking about. Only happens at 2nd level, which I think was also true of the original. Basically, it looks like you get to use the Ranger spell list is somewhere else, I guess. Okay. Creature sense. At 2nd level, your connection to nature grants you a 6th sense for the presence of certain types of creatures. You may activate creature sense as an action on your turn. If you do, you gain the following benefits. Till the end of your next turn, you and your tamed companions know the direction, location, and number of any beasts, elementals, fae, or favorite enemies within 1 mile of you. You know the creature type of any being whose presence you sense, but not its identity. So this is sort of like Divine Sense. If you sensed one of your favorite enemies this way, you know the creature's distance, location, and number for 1 minute instead. Instead of one turn or whatever. Once you use this feature, you must complete a short rest, expend a 1st level ranger spell slot, or wait 1 hour before you can use it again. Okay. Favorite enemy. At 2nd level, you and your tamed companions become proficient at hunting certain types of enemies. 3 types from among aberration, beast, celestial construct, dragon, elemental, fae, fiend, giant, monstrosity, ooze, plant, or undead. You may alternatively use one of these choices to instead choose one humanoid creature type, such as goblin, gnoll, orc. You have advantage on wisdom survival check. Checks to track your favorite enemies, as well as on intelligence checks to recall extra information about them. And then at 3rd level, you get attacked twice. You can command your companion to attack as well. Hunter's Mark. At 3rd level, you learn to mystically mark a creature as your quarry. As a bonus action, you may expend 1 1st level ranger spell slot and choose 1 creature you can see within 120 feet of you, marked by 1 hour, or marked for 1 hour. While a creature is marked this way, you and your tamed companions gain the following benefits against it. When you or one of your tamed companions hit the marked creature with an attack, it deals an additional 1d6, advantage on wisdom and perception and survival checks to find the marked creature. Okay. When you activate this feature, expend an additional 1st level spell slots to increase the duration by 1 hour. Ends if the marked creature moves more than 1,000 feet away from you and all of your tamed companions. Mark creature is reduced to 0 hit points. You may spend your reaction to mark a different creature within 120 feet of you that you can see. And you have prof bonus number of times that you can transfer your Hunter's Mark. You can do that 3 times at 3rd level. At 4th level, you practice the traditions of a Ranger Conclave. Your Conclave grants you features at 4th level, 5th level, and 6th level. One of the following Ranger Conclaves, then refer to the features in the following pages to determine the benefits. Beastmaster, Deep Stalker, Drake Warden, Fey Wanderer, Gloomstalker, Horizon Walker, Hunter, Monster Slayer, and Swarmkeeper. Holy shit, Swarmkeeper, dude. That's pretty cool. Alright, so we're at the subclasses already, and this is where it goes from, like... This is, we're at page 6. And we got 21 pages total, so... Liquid refreshment. And probably also... Go ahead and shift my setup here a little bit. Okay. Beastmasters are defined not by solitary mastery, but by the seamless violence of bonded hunters. At 4th level, you become a pack instead of a pair. Maximum number of your companions you can tame increases by 1, and it must be a beast. Creature type beast gain 8 bonus max HP. Cooperative ranger features and fighting styles when fighting alongside each other. Oh, that's pretty cool. Deal bonus damage to your favorite enemies equal to your wisdom modifier once per turn. Yeah, that's really neat. At 5th level, once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, one or both of your tamed companions can spend their reaction to make an attack against that creature. Pretty good. At 6th level, the natural weapon attacks of your tamed beast companions gain 1 additional damage die and can critically strike on a roll of 19 or 20. 5 first level spell slots as a reaction. If you do that, companion just drops a 1 hit point. Cool. Okay, that's pretty neat. You can basically just channel your energy, your mystical energy that way. Obviously, we'd need to do something different than the spell slots if we undid the spell casting, so we'd have to think about that. But. So this is a case where you can have 2 beast. Well, you can have 2 companions. That's pretty neat. Deep stalkers hunt in caverns, trenches, ruins, and impossible depths where light and certainty are extinguished. At 4th level, you gain dark vision to 60 feet or increase your existing dark vision by 30 feet. Aberrations as a favorite enemy. Choose another one if you already have that. Hunter's Mark targets an aberration. You may activate it without expending a spell slot, unless you want to increase the mark's duration. And it deals 2d6 instead of 1d6. Pretty cool. Yeah, will do. I will glance at the ranger spells list. That's not in this packet, right? That's somewhere else. I'll pull that up so I can look at it later. At 5th level, you gain a climbing speed and swimming speed equal to your walking speed. Okay. In addition, while in dim light, darkness, or underwater, you and your team companions may hide as a bonus action. When you begin traveling to the Underdark or any cavernous terrain, you always begin the adapted terrain level of familiarity. Okay, that's pretty good. So you skip to the 1st level there. Terror from below. At 6th level, when you or one of your team companions hit a creature that cannot see you or has not yet taken a turn in combat, must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened. Frightened creatures also within 5 feet of one of your team companions, the speed becomes 0. So you can root people, basically. Your tame companions have advantage on natural weapon attacks made against creatures frightened this way. That's pretty good. Drake Wardens forge a bond with draconic creatures whose growth mirrors their own. At 4th level, your bond to draconic nature deepens. Maximum number of your companions you can tame increases by 1. It must be a Drake or Pseudo Dragon. Your tame companions that have a creature type of Drake or Pseudo Dragon gain 8 bonus max HP. Okay. Got Coordinated Assault. And then Draconic Sovereignty. At 6th level, the natural weapon attacks of your tamed Drake and Pseudo Dragon companions gain 1 additional damage die and can critically strike brutally. In addition, the size category of your tamed Drake and Pseudo Dragon companions increases by 1, from small to medium or medium to large. That's pretty neat. If your tamed companion is a Drake, it gains a flying speed equal to its walking speed, and you and up to one other creature or tamed companion may mount it safely. Neat. If your tamed companion is a pseudo dragon, its flying speed is doubled, and it does not provoke attacks of opportunity when it flies past creatures without a flying speed. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Fey Wanderers are rangers marked by strange beauty, dreamlike movement, and the unsettling nature of the Feywild. Oh, Arbalor, you do the darndest things. Whimsical Mark. At 4th level, you gain Fey as a favorite enemy. If you already had Fey as a favorite enemy, you choose another one from the list. Hunter's Mark targeting a Fey creature, yep. Hunter's Mark targeting one of your favorite enemies. That creature must succeed on a charisma, or it suffers the effects of Fairy Fire. Okay, that's pretty cool. Mistwalker. At 5th level, immediately before or after you cast a ranger spell or hit with this weapon attack, you teleport up to 15 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. That's pretty cool. One tame companion within 15 feet of you may also teleport to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. I guess 5 feet of your new destination or something like that. In addition, you and your tamed companion have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened while you're within 15 feet of each other. Pretty neat. Beguiling Twist. At 6th level, you learn to spread the Fey magic of your Hunter's Mark to any creature that opposes you. Force the creature to make a saving throw. Fairy Fire. Okay, even if it's not your favorite enemies. While it's under the effect of Fairy Fire as a result of your Hunter's Mark, the attacks made by you and your tamed companions can crit brutally. If you or one of your tamed companions are suffering from the charmed or frightened conditions, you and your tamed companion may end that condition by taking the help action. Okay, that's pretty neat. Gloom Stalkers are ambushes of darkness, ruin, and unnatural light. Dread Ambusher. At 4th level, you and your tamed companion can see in magical darkness as though it were dim light. While you and your tamed companions are in dim light or darkness, you or your tamed companions can use in action. Become invisible until you perform an action or move at least 15 feet outside the dim light or dark. The first time you or your tamed companions make an attack roll each turn while you are invisible, you or your tamed companion gain advantage on that attack roll. And on a hit, that attack deals an additional 1d6 damage. You also learn the Darkness spell, and it doesn't count against the number of spells known. Okay. So you're basically doing more damage. I think this is pretty reminiscent of what I remember the Gloomstalker having. Iron Mind. At 5th level, you and your tamed companions gain proficiency in Wisdom saving throws. You're already proficient, you instead gain proficiency in Intelligence or Charisma saving throws. In addition, you and your tamed companions are immune to the frightened condition while you are within 15 feet of one another. Okay. Stalker's Shroud. At 6th level, when you activate your Hunter's Mark, you may expend 1 additional 1st level spell slot to also cast Darkness. That's pretty cool. While your Hunter's Mark is within darkness you created, you and your tamed companions have advantage against attack rolls made against it. A creature marked by your Hunter's Mark is within your darkness can't benefit from cover. Once each of your turns, you may use your bonus action to move the darkness you created this way up to 30 feet towards the location of the creature marked. And when you transfer it, you may also move the darkness this way up to 30 feet towards the new creature. Okay. That's what I was wondering about too. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh shit, it's Colin! What's up, dude? Horizon Walker. Stand watch at the edges of worlds, cutting down creatures that slip between planes. Planar Warrior. At 4th level, you gain elementals as one of your favorite enemies. Hunter's Mark targets an elemental. Spell slot, yep. You may have your weapon attack deal cold, fire, force, or thunder damage instead of its usual type, and if that creature is an elemental, it doesn't benefit from resistance. That's pretty cool. Elemental Affinity. At 5th level, you and your tamed companions become attuned to the elements. You may choose one from among cold, fire, force, or thunder damage and gain resistance to that every time you complete a long rest. In addition, when you activate your creature sense, you can also sense the distance and direction of the nearest planar portal within 1 mile. Planar portal. Planar Strikes. At 6th level, you learn to imbue your attacks with Elemental Might. When you or your tamed companions hit a creature with a weapon attack, that attack deals an additional 1d6 damage of the type you chose as your Elemental Affinity. Okay, that's this over here. So, if the creature you hit as part of those attacks is under the effects of Hunter's Mark, your creature doesn't benefit from resistance. Pretty good. Creature you hit as part of those attacks is an elemental, doesn't benefit from immunity. Okay, very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, that definitely means that you're like hunted down the elementals. Do you get your level 1 Drake? I don't know about that one. I haven't gotten that far. Hunters are consummate slayers who devote themselves to the perfection of a single partnership. You choose one to benefit from the features of the subclass. Designate a different tamed companion as your hunting companion when your current one dies, or when you tame a new one. Or you have no hunting companions. On the hunt, you can take the hide action as a bonus action. If you do, your hunting companion also attempts to hide with you. When you hide this way, you gain advantage on your dex stealth check, and your hunting companion uses the same total that you roll. Favorite enemy. You and your hunting companion become more efficient at hunting a wider variety of creatures. When you choose a subclass of 4th level, you may choose one additional creature type. Makes sense. Marked Quarry. Your hunting companion has advantage on attacks made against your hunter's mark. Defensive Tactics. At 5th level, you and your hunting companion both gain the following benefits. Give chase. When you activate your hunter's mark, your hunting companion may immediately move up to its speed without provoking opportunity attacks. I assume move up to its speed towards the one who is marked, I'm guessing. Shared will. You and your hunting companion have advantage on saving throws made to resist becoming charmed or frightened while you can see one another. Big game hunter. At 6th level, your partnership with your hunting companion rewards ruthless efficiency. Your hunting companion's natural weapons gain 1 additional damage die and can score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. If your hunting companion has an ability or feature that deals damage as part of that feature, it deals an additional 1d8 damage with that feature. Okay. So it's doing damage. Brutal crit. You may have your hunting companion's size category increased by 1 stage. Oh, but no greater than large. If you do, one of its speeds increases by 20 feet, and its carrying capacity is doubled. So this is definitely more about like buffing up your companion, which is pretty neat. Monster Slayers focus on singular deadly targets, breaking powerful foes apart through precision and insight. At 4th level, choose 1 creature type from among dragons, fiends, giants, monstrosities, and undead. That's a favorite enemy. When you encounter a creature type who is one of your favorite enemies, its main action to study it. If you do, make a wisdom insight check. On a success, you immediately learn whether it has damage immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. On a failure, the creature becomes immune to this ability until you complete a short or long rest. When you cast your Hunter's Mark on the creature type you chose as your Slayer's Prey, your Hunter's Mark deals an additional 2d6. Very nice. At 5th level, oh, it's an additional, so that's 3d6 total. That's actually really good. That's like more than I thought. Trophy Taker. At 5th level, your expertise in hunting the creature type you chose as your Slayer's Prey shines. When you roll initiative and the creature's type matches your Slayer's Prey joins that initiative, you may reroll your initiative and choose whether to keep the new number. In addition, you have advantage on ability checks and saving throws made to contest or resist an ability check, ability, feature, or spell imposed upon you by that creature. Lastly, you and your tamed companions can't become frightened by your Slayer's Prey. Pretty good. Nemesis. At 6th level, you are regarded as the Undertaker of your Slayer's Prey. When you or your tamed companions make attack rolls against your Slayer's Prey, your attacks can score a critical hit brutally. When you score a critical hit against your Slayer's Prey, you may force it to use one of its legendary resistances to turn the critical hit into a normal one. Huh. That's actually pretty legit. Lastly, if you are in the lair of your Slayer's Prey, you have advantage on ability checks and saving throws made to contest, evade, or resist the effects of its lair actions. Pretty good. If succeeding on one of those rolls would cause you to take half damage of an effect, you take no damage from that effect. Very cool. Very cool. Swarm Keepers are never truly alone. The creatures of their swarm protect them. At 4th level, you become a living tide of lesser creatures. You can tame 1 more companion, and it must be a swarm. Gain 8 bonus max HP. Cooperative styles. Yep, makes sense. Bonus damage equal to your favorite enemies equal to your wisdom mod. Writhing Tide. At 5th level, one of your tamed swarm companions is sharing your space. You may use a bonus action to attach to your swarm. If you do, you gain a flying speed of 10 feet and can hover as your swarm lifts you. This effect ends early if you are knocked prone, if you move more than 5 feet from your swarm against your will, if you fall unconscious, if your swarm falls unconscious, or if you choose to end it as a bonus action on a subsequent turn. While you are attached to your swarm, any damage you take is halved, and the half damage is shared by your swarm. Swarm is fewer than half its maximum hit points remaining. It safely lowers you to the ground, and this effect ends. Mighty Swarm. At 6th level, the natural weapon attacks of your tamed swarm companions gain 1 additional damage die. Critically strike brutally. In addition, once on each of your turns, you may expend a 1st level ranger spell slot to cause 1 tamed swarm companion you can see to become large for 1 minute. Ah, okay. Enlarge. While large, your tamed swarm companion can occupy the space of any number of creatures, and on its turn, it can forego making its attacks. Instead, make all creatures sharing its space make a dex saving throw against your ranger save DC. On a failure, the creatures suffer 46 piercing damage as the swarm ravages their forms, and they suffer half as much on success. Call of the Wild. At 6th level, you and your companions become apex predators, and you get 1 extra tamed companion. Weapon attacks are considered magical. Okay, very cool. And then we got the Ranger Companion Glossary. Okay. Well, overall, the subclasses are pretty legit. You get a nice variety of some that want to be specialist in one way or another about themselves, a little bit more insular, but still obviously with tamed companions, up to 2. If they take a subclass that doesn't give them an extra one, and they can become 3 tamed companions when you take like the Swarm Keeper or stuff like that. So the Beastmaster, a couple others as well, and then but you have some variety there that you can choose to do. So that's pretty neat. All companions use the following general rules unless a stat block says otherwise. Hit points are 8 plus the companion's con mod. Yep, okay. Gains 1d8 or 8 plus its con mod every time you get a ranger level. Attack bonus, your proficiency bonus plus the companion's listed strength or dex mod. Whatever's higher, I assume. Ranger save DC is their save DC. Armor class is 10 plus the companion's dex mod plus your wisdom mod. Right, I remember seeing that. ASI at Ranger 2, 4, and 6. Unique traits. Each companion gains its listed 3rd level trait at Ranger 3 and its listed 5th level trait at Ranger 5. Multi-attacks. When your tamed companions reach 3rd level, they gain multi-attack 1. When they take attack action on their turn, they may choose to perform a multi-attack instead. If they do, they make 2 natural weapon attacks instead of 1. For the following pages when you choose a stat block for your Ranger companion. Ape companion. Axe-beak companion, bear, boar, cat, crocodile, giant frog, giant lizard, giant wolf spider. Spider? Hound companion, horse companion. Dude, it's brother. Finally. Raptor companion. Fuck yeah, dude. Wolf companion. Eagle companion. Hawk companion. Owl companion, vulture companion, construct companion. Air elemental companion, earth elemental companion, fire elemental companion, water elemental companion, pseudo dragon companion, rake companion, plant and treant companions, insect beast and flying beast swarm companions. What even would a beast swarm be? Like, oh, I guess it's probably like rats or something, right? Flying beast is just a swarm of birds. Yeah, birds or bats. I see it right there. Fucking, I'm a birds. And he just fucking annihilates them. That's really cool. Rats, squirrels, yeah.
Fear the squirrely bites. Some of them don't even have bushy tails.
Oh. Throw my shaved bear at them. That's a good question. What the hell, YouTube? Yeah, these are really just the different varieties here. Obviously, you have some that are like carved out, and we can add to this over time as well if somebody wants them a bit later on. But these are really cool. Yeah, if you have any particular ones you want me to check out, let me know. I'd like to see if I can make some inroads on the sorcerer before the end of the stream, so kind of prioritizing that. But the Hound companion, keen hearing and smell makes sense. Understands the languages you speak, very cool. That's probably a commonality. At 3rd level, the Hound remains alert to danger during short and long rests. During rests, its passive perception increases by 10. 5th level, best friend. While the Hound is within 5 feet of you and other creatures making a melee attack against you, imposes disadvantage. Pretty cool. And it's got bite and claws. Strength and dex. Cool. Pretty neat. And the ape, yeah. Can't forget the ape. If the horse moves at least 20 feet toward a creature and then hits it with its hooves in the same turn, it must be knocked. Yeah, it'll be knocked prone. Horse takes the dash action on its turn. It can move up to 3 times its speed. Holy moly! And the speed is 60 feet. God damn. Move 180 feet. The giant frog is very exciting. When the frog reduces a smaller creature to 0 hit points that it isn't a construct elemental or a dead, it can swallow it. Ah, Fred. Ape companion. The ape has advantage on strength, athletics checks made to climb, leap, swing, or hold on to another creature. Powerful grappler. The ape can still use its multi-attack while it's grappling or restraining a creature, but it can only target that creature. If it does, those attacks have advantage. Opposable thumbs. The ape can take the use an object action on its turn, but only to perform simple actions such as pulling a lever or administering a potion. Holy shit, dude. Intelligent ape companion. Ascended ape companion. That's fucking cool. What else did you say? Vulture was another one, okay. Vulture has advantage on wisdom perception checks, made to notice wounded creatures, corpses, or the scent of blood. Cruelty. Once on each of its turns when the vulture hits a creature that is below its hit point maximum, that creature must succeed on a con saving throw or become blinded. 5th level is Scavenger's Frenzy. When the vulture hits a creature that is below its hit point maximum, the vulture can reroll its damage dice and choose which numbers to keep. That's pretty neat. I can't tell if the music I'm listening to... Okay. I have, like, mic feedback from a... Yeah, I have that going on. Hold on. All right, we back, boys. I was like, what the fuck is that? Why am I hearing that? Is that the music? It was not the music. Observe my potion giving ape losers. Yeah, it's a really good one. Beacon Talon. Barkskin. Dog? The Treant has advantage on checks and saving throws made to resist or being shoved or knocked prone. Treant remains alert during... yeah, the Treant has the same thing as the dog, actually, but in a different way. Daylight regains 1d8 hit points. And as long as it remains in daylight, effects can't prevent it from regaining hit points. Hell yeah. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison when you tame this companion. Companion is resistant to the chosen damage type. Breath weapon. As an action, the Drake exhales its chosen energy in a 15-foot cone. Creatures in the area must make a dex saving throw against your ranger save DC, taking 2d6 damage to the chosen type on failure or half as much on success. Drake's breath weapon is 46 instead of 2d6 when it gets to 5th level. It's got bite and claws, that's for sure. Oh, and it can speak Draconic to you. That's actually pretty neat. Yeah, so you get multiple animal companions at 6th level, you get an extra one, and at 4th level, when you pick your your specialist subclass, once you pick your subclass, you get access to some subclasses that give you an extra animal companion of a certain type. So there's like a beast master. You got to pick a beast, but you do get an extra one. There's one for dragons, like drakes and pseudo dragons, and there's one for swarms. And I think there was one other one that I can't remember right now, but pretty cool stuff. I think the ranger is pretty legit. That's for sure. It's pretty cool. Hell yeah, 3 apes. Yeah, if you go Beastmaster, you can do 3 apes. I'll have to make a playable ape race so that you can really live that out. I got you. I got you, dude. Although I guess it wouldn't be 3 apes then, so I don't know. All right, Sorcerer is only 12 pages. We'll see what we can do. Human is base game. We'll see how much of the Sorcerer we can get through. I'm gonna go until about 1, so about 15 minutes or so. Sorcerers carry a magical birthright conferred upon them by an exotic bloodline, some otherworldly influence, or exposure to unknown cosmic forces. No one chooses sorcery. The power chooses the sorcerer. Okay. Light crossbow and quiver or any simple weapon. Component patch, arcane focus. Engineer's pack or explorer's pack. 2 daggers. Daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows. Arcana, deception, insight, intimidation, persuasion, religion, and survival. Oh, saving throws are con and charisma. So that's already a kind of a deviation, I think. That's pretty neat. And your saving DC is your charisma modifier. Okay. First level and every sorcerer level thereafter, you get this stuff here, Mystic Lore. Either sense, you gain proficiency with Arcana and identify active spells, magical anomalies, unstable enchantments are advantaged. Eerie presence, intimidation, checks to made to unsettle, unnerve, or overawe creatures with your presence. Dude, that's Narath. Innate conduit. You gain advantage on Constitution saving throws made to endure magical backlash or environmental extreme. Oh, that's pretty neat. Marked Soul. You gain proficiency with Insight. You have an advantage on checks made to recognize magical influence, possession, or concealed emotion. Planar Surveyor. Proficiency with Investigation. Checks made to identify portals, extraplanar intrusions, and magic disturbances. Spell Scarred. Survival proficiency. Checks made to travel through magically dangerous terrain or endure magical weather. Silver Voice. Persuasion proficiency. And influence creatures through charm, magnetism, or confidence are advantaged. Sorceress Wisdom. Proficiency with Medicine. Advantage on checks made to identify magical sickness, mutation, or arcane exhaustion. Uncanny Bearing. You gain proficiency with Deception. Conceal your magical nature. Or strange phenomena as coincidence. Wanderer Between Worlds. Any languages of your choice. Wild Sense. Proficiency with Perception. Passive increases by 5. Okay. Makes sense. You've learned to shape magic through instinct, temperament, force of will, and the mysterious nature of your sorceress origin. First level, choose first level sorcerer spells of your choice. 2 more sorcerer spells from the sorcerer spell list from the level you can cast every time you level up. You replace any number of sorcerer spells you know with other sorcerer spells from the sorcerer spell list of levels you can cast. Sorcerer's Origin grants you origin spells, and they are always known and do not count against the number of spells you can know. Right, yeah. That makes sense. I think they're fine though. I don't see anything that's going to be like not very useful. I guess like in theory maybe the spell scarred one is a little bit hard, but it really depends. You can kit yourself out for a particular kind of campaign. That's like talk with the DM about like ones that you think would be good for your character, but you're not sure will be useful. And it's up to the DM to make them useful, but also up to the DM to decide like, okay, I'm not really planning on using anything that's going to be like that though. So you might want to skip that one or whatever, something like that. That's fine. Collaboration there. At first level, choose a sorcerer's origin from one of the following options. Aberrant mind sorcerers carry alien insight, warped thought, and psychic trespass in their very souls. And they get dissonant whispers, detect thoughts, hunger of Hadar, Ever's black tentacles, telekinesis, and mass suggestion. Telepathic speech. You can form a telepathic bond with one creature you can see within 60 feet of you as a bonus action. For a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level, you and that creature can speak telepathically with one another while you remain within 1 mile of each other. That's pretty good. Clockwork Soul. Clockwork Soul sorcerers embody order, structure, and the stubborn correction of magical chaos. Alarm, aid, counterspell, freedom of movement, wall of force, globe of invulnerability. You can use your reaction to neutralize fluctuating fortune. When your creature you can see within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you may use your reaction to cause that roll to be made without advantage or disadvantage. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Draconic Bloodline sorcerers carry the majesty and fury of dragons in their veins. Origin spells. Chromatic Orb, Dragon's Breath, Fear, Elemental Bane, Dominate Person. Investiture of Flame, Ice, Stone, and Wind. 6, your choice of 1. Draconic Resilience. Choose a draconic ancestry from acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. You learn to speak, read, and write draconic. Your hit point maximum increases by 1 for each sorcerer level you have. And while you're not wearing armor or a shield, the first time in each round a creature misses you with an attack, that creature takes damage of your draconic ancestry type equal to your proficiency bonus. Okay, that's pretty neat. You got a bunch of different origins here, it looks like. Okay. Divine soul sorcerers are touched by sacred power, channeling miracles through instinct rather than prayer. Bless, lesser restoration, spirit guardians, death ward, greater restoration, heal. Favored by the gods, divine favor steadies your hand. When you fail a saving throw or miss with an attack roll, you may add 2d4 to the roll, potentially turning failure into success. Let's use this feature, you cannot use it again, okay. Short or long rest. Giant soul sorcerers draw on the colossal magic of giant kind, becoming bigger, louder, and harder to ignore. Origin spells, Earth Tremor, Enlarge Reduce, Thunderstep, Stone Skin, Telekinesis, and Flesh to Stone. Jotun Legacy, or is it Jotun? You learn to speak, read, and ride giant. As a bonus action, you may spend 1 sorcery point to become large for 1 minute if there's room for you to grow. While large in this way, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, carrying capacity doubles, and once on each of your turns when you deal damage with a spell or weapon attack, you may push the target up to 5 feet. Lunar Sorcery are shaped by moonlight, changing phase as their magic ebbs and swells. Sleep, Moonbeam, Hypnotic Pattern, Greater Invisibility, Dream, and Sunbeam. That's pretty neat. Lunar Embodiment. Choose one lunar phase when you complete a long rest. Full moon, new moon, or crescent moon. While under that phase, you gain the associated benefit. Once on each of your turns, when you restore hit points or deal radiant damage with a spell, add your charisma modifier to 1 roll of that spell. That's for full moon. While in dim light or darkness, you have advantage on stealth checks and you gain dark vision up to 60 feet. That's for new moon. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet and opportunity attacks against you are always made with disadvantage. That's crescent moon. Interesting. So you get, like, mobility, or you just get, like, some niche, flavorful benefits as, like, a permanent fixture, basically. That's pretty cool. Phoenix sorcerers burn with immortal flame, all fire, renewal, and wrath. Burning hands, flaming sphere, fireball, wall of fire, flame strike, and investiture of flame. Mantle of flame. You may wreathe yourself in a phoenix fire as a bonus action. Immolation from Warcraft 3. For 1 minute, you shed bright light in a 30-foot radius, gain resistance to fire damage, and once on each of your turns when you deal fire damage with a spell, you may add your charisma modifier to 1 roll of that spell. In addition, when a creature hits you with a melee attack while this mantle is active, it takes fire damage equal to your charisma modifier. Once you use this feature, you cannot do so again until you complete a short or long rest unless you spend 2 sorcery points. That makes sense. Psionic soul sorcerers wield thought, generating powerful acts of control, force, and mental intrusion. Dissonant whispers detect thoughts, clairvoyance, Autoluke's resilient sphere, synaptic static, and mass suggestion. Psionic discovery. You learn the Mage Hand cantrip if you do not already know it, and it is invisible when you cast it. Telepathy out to 30 feet. As a bonus action, you may force one creature you can see within 30 feet to make a strength saving throw against your sorcerer save DC. On a failure, you move it up to any 5 feet in any direction. Move the creature, yeah, okay. That's pretty funny. You can just choose a bonus action to, like, force somebody to move away, which is kind of neat. Sea sorcerers are touched by storm tide, crushing depth, and the pull of the abyssal sea. Fog cloud, misty step, tidal wave, control water, maelstrom, and wall of ice. Soul of the sea, you gain swimming speed equal to your walking speed and can breathe underwater. Once on each of your turns, when you do cold or lightning damage to a creature with the spell, reduce its speed by 10 feet, or move it up to 10 feet closer or farther. That's pretty neat. Another one of those movement abilities. Shadow magic. Inhabited by darkness, deathly resolve, and cold contempt of night. So this is a Coxie. Disguise self, darkness, summon shadow spawn, shadow of moil, enervation, and eye bite. Eyes of the dark vision up to 120 feet, or increase your dark vision by 60 feet. That's a pretty big one. Also cast darkness by spending 2 sorcery points, and you can see through darkness you create with this feature. Okay. Pretty neat. Stone sorcerers embody patient, crushing, immovable earth. Earth Tremor, Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, Erupting Earth, Stone Skin, Wall of Stone, and Move Earth. Stone's durability. While you are not wearing armor and not wearing a shield, you have advantage on strength saving throws and the ability checks. Is this to be shoved, knocked prone, or moved against your will? In addition, when a creature moves into a space within 5 feet of you for the first time on a turn, you may use your reaction to force it to make a strength saving throw against your sorcerer save DC. Or if its speed becomes 0, so you're just rooting them with the earth, you're magnetizing them to the ground. Storm sorcerers ride wind and thunder, using spellcraft as a vehicle for speed and ruin. Thunderwave, Gust of Wind, Call Lightning, Storm Sphere, Destructive Wave, and Chain Link. Call Lightning is pretty legit. That's that really long, stabby one that you saw in both ADS and the Paladin partner from various NPCs. Tempestuous Magic. Immediately before or after you cast a spell of first level or higher, you may fly up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attack. And then you got wild magic. Wild magic sorcerers are living accidents. Their spells pulling unpredictable results from unstable possibility. Chaos Bolt, Mirror Image, Blink, Confusion, Animate Objects, Disintegrate. Wild Magic Surge. Your spellcasting can trigger a surge of unstable magic. Once on each of the turns when you cast a sorcerer spell first level or higher, you may have you roll on a d20 on the Wild Magic Surge table. Oh, on a roll of 1, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. It may also deliberately trigger a surge as a free action whenever you cast a spell of first level or higher. Tides of Chaos. You can manipulate chance itself. You may gain advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Once you do, you cannot use the feature again until you play a short or long rest, unless you trigger, or until you trigger a Wild Magic Surge. That's pretty neat. Wild Magic Surge is like it's really wacky as far as I remember. Oh, it's like a D8 then. I thought there was... No. Yeah, here it is. This is the table I was thinking. Wild Magic Surge. Pretty good. A lot of wacky stuff can happen there. At second level, you learn to tap into a deep wellspring of inner magic known as sorcery points. A number of sorcery points as shown in the sorcery points column on the sorcery table. Half your maximum sorcery points when you complete a short rest, all of them on a long rest. As a bonus action, you may convert spell slots into sorcery points. Sorceress Aegis. Your innate magic shields you while it remains gathered inside you. This is something that I was talking about for a while as like a way to really set the sorcerer apart, and I'm glad that Three Crow metabolized it. While you're not wearing armor and not wielding a shield, your AC equals 10 plus your charisma modifier plus 1 for every 2 sorcery points you have remaining. That's pretty good. When a creature succeeds on an attack roll against you while you still have 2 or more sorcery points, you may use your reaction to spend 2 of them to cause that creature's attack to deal half damage. Yeah. It's nice. Lower your AC by 1, but reduce the incoming damage by half. Meta Magic. At third level, you learn to consciously reshape the feel and form of your magic. When you complete a long rest, choose a number of meta magic options from the list equal to your prof bonus. Those options are prepared for you until you complete another long rest. If you complete a short rest, you may replace one meta magic preparation with another option, and you can only use meta magic. You can use only one meta magic option on a spell unless otherwise noted. Okay, that makes sense. These are like different updates to the spells or whatever, like small tweaks there. At third level, spectacular surges of magic feed your power. Once on each of your turns, when you score a critical hit with a spell attack roll, or when a creature rolls a natural 1 on a saving throw against one of your sorcerer spells, you regain 2 sorcery points. And then, of course, you get subclasses based on the sorcerer's origins. And at 6th level, your magic restores even when spent thin. With a short rest, you regain hit points equal to your sorcerer level plus your charisma modifier. In addition, when you roll initiative and have no sorcery points, you regain half your maximum. That's pretty legit for 6th level. That makes sense. And we got the subclasses here. Seem to go down to wild magic. Yep, okay. So, I mean, we made it through everything up until the subclasses, including the 6th level features. That's pretty good. I think now, yeah, we're just about up at the end there. So I'll take this opportunity to say your age changes by a number of years equal to the roll. If the roll is odd, you get younger. If the roll is even, you get older. Yeah. Wild magic is definitely a meme. An eye appears on your forehead for the next minute. You cast grease centered on yourself. You grow a long beard made of feathers that remains until you sneeze, at which point the feathers explode out from your face. Storm sorcery is pretty cool. Scroll down here then. Storm sorcerers ride wind and thunder using spellcraft as a vehicle for speed and ruin. Heart of the Storm. At 4th level, you gain resistance to lightning and thunder damage. Learn Lightning Bolt. When you cast it, you may spend 1 sorcery point per level with the spell instead of expending spell slots. Oh, okay. The first time you cast it after completing a short or long rest, you may cast it without expending spell slots. That's pretty legit. Fucking Psystorm looking ass. Storm's Fury. At 5th level, you learn to channel the storm within. You may spend 4 sorcery points to channel the Primordial Fury for 1 minute. For the duration, you gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Powerful winds batter all creatures in a 15-foot sphere centered on you. Creatures that move or fly through the sphere treated as difficult terrain and non-magical flames are extinguished. When a creature enters the sphere for the first time or begins its turn in the sphere, it must succeed on a strength saving throw against your sorcerer save DC or take 2d8 plus your charisma modifier lightning damage and be pushed up to 10 feet in a direction of your choice. On a success, a creature that takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. Form ends early if you fall unconscious or reduces your hit points. And then Lightning Quiver. At 6th level, you bend lightning to your will. When you cast Lightning Bolt, you may spend 2 sorcery points to cast it instead of expending spell slots. When a creature targets you with an ability feature or spell that deals lightning damage, you may spend your reaction and 3 sorcery points to immediately take 1/4 of the damage it would have dealt. Then copy that ability feature or spell, unleashing it upon the creature that targeted you. Yeah. That's pretty cool. It's like you become Zeus, just start throwing lightning bolts. Oh, cool. I will finish this one up. This is now the one that we're leaving on the list there. And then what else do you think, Three Crow? For my next one, should we be doing like Paladin? Let me go look at what I haven't done already. Barbarian, Cleric, Paladin, Rogue. Those are the 4 that I haven't done now. Barbarian, Cleric, Paladin, Rogue. So, of Barbarian, Cleric, Paladin, and Rogue, you'll have to tell me what your updated list is intended to be. I will go ahead and post what I have reviewed. Paladin, Barb, Rogue, Cleric. Okay, Paladin, Barb. Okay, so I've updated my internal list here of what I need to do. And we got Sorcerer, Paladin, and Barbarian on the list for the next, I'll finish Sorcerer, and then I'll do Paladin and Barbarian for my next stream. And that leaves only 2 more streams left, basically, because in one stream I'll do Sorcerer, Remnants, Paladin, Barbarian. And then in the final stream I'll do Rogue and Cleric. And then future streams can be, other donor tasks, development of more, like the lore list for the other classes and stuff, and like other updates and whatnot, and I guess like Foundry implementation for some of this stuff as well. So we'll try to keep that cadence going. It's not like, oh, the classes are gone and then they're all reviewed and then, okay, well, then I'm done. I'll be doing some other stuff too. So, yeah, that's that for now. I will GG out of here because I got to go to the bathroom and then I got to get some Cosmonarchy stuff done before I go to shift work, including a cast. But thanks for popping in, Three Crow. I appreciate you making the time to do so, even though I was like, yeah, I can do Tuesday, and then I had to do it today instead. And it was in the middle of the workday. Glad that you had the ability to join me to explain some things. And I will be... I'm not sure when the next one will be. It'll definitely be no later than next week, but I don't remember my work schedule off the bat here, so... I'll get back to you guys on that. If I'm really good about my Cosmonarchy dev stuff, then I might... Well, I also have to do tabletop prep for Friday instead of the usual day. And I got to do Cosmo prep for Sunday. Actually, I don't even know if I can do Sunday because I have shift work. I might have to do it... I think Shambler can't do late night Sunday. And I can't do the time that Shambler can do Sunday because of the... because of the other shit. So I don't know. That'll be a little bit... That's difficult because I told Alexander, yeah, we can do Sunday, and then like Shambler can't do Sunday normally. So anyway, we'll figure that stuff out later. But we're doing Friday for Omnima at the usual time of 8:30 Eastern, and I got to prep for that. Plus, I got to do some work on the tournament prep for sure. So I probably won't be able to fit in another class review stream this week. So just expect it sometime next week. I'll keep you guys posted on that in the channel. GG.